Hello, welcome to On Cue. My name's Sean Robertson, theater manager for the city of Florissant. For those of you unfamiliar with our show, we like to take a moment out each week and let people know about what we're doing at the James J. Egan Center. Located at the James J. Egan Center, you will find one of North County's cultural hubs in the form of the newly named Gary R. Gaydos Auditorium, named after retired theater manager Gary Gaydos, who served the city for over 37 years. Our 600-seat proscenium theater is a wonderful venue to take in a live performance. On our show, we like to inform audiences about one of our upcoming shows, and today we will be discussing the Alpha Players production of Harvey. Harvey was written in 1944 by Mary Chase and received the Pulitzer Prize for drama. Harvey premiered on Broadway in November 1944, and many of you may remember the 1950 film starring James Stewart. Today my guest is Danny Brown, director of Harvey for the Alpha Players, and the star of the show himself, Harvey, has decided to join us. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us here today, and now let's hear a little bit about you guys, and tell us about Harvey and tell us about yourself. I guess, first of all, are you from St. Louis?
I was born and raised in St. Louis, as a matter of fact.
Okay, and as everyone likes to know in St. Louis, where'd you go to high school?
My mother always asks everyone she meets. I went to high school at Parkway North.
Parkway North?
Yes, sir. Parkway North over off of the Page, well, I used to call it the Page Extension. I guess it's still there.
It's Creve Coeur area?
Yes, sir. Creve Coeur, Maryland Heights area.
All right. And did you go to college for theater? Or?
I actually did. I went to college, 4-year degree. I always say I got a BS in theater, Bachelor of Science.
Yes.
In theater performance at the University of Evansville in Indiana.
Oh, that's a fine school. I've actually worked with some people that went there also, many ages ago. Is this, now you're directing the show, is this the first time you've directed with Alpha?
It is the first time I've directed with Alpha. As a matter of fact, it's the first time that I've been fully directed a show. I did assistant direct for their previous musical, 1776.
1776. That was last year's
yes,
musical?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That was sort of my coming up the ranks, I guess.
Okay. And you've been in many shows. I know I've seen you in quite a few. I know Spam-A-Lot and
I've been in a few.
In a few?
Well, yeah. I took a little bit of a break from theater after college, and when I started a few years ago, Alpha, they were the ones who kind of threw me a bone and said, "Here, have a part that you can really sink your teeth into."
You were also in the musical Les Mis.
That's the one.
I remember as Javert.
That's the one.
I thought you did a very nice job.
Thank you.
And that's a very difficult role to sing, as a lot of critics gave what's his name from Gladiator a hard time.
Oh, Russell Crowe.
Yes.
That was my one note. They said, "Don't sing like Russell Crowe, and if you do, we'll throw you off a bridge at the end for real."
Oh, okay. Well, so you're a St. Louis guy. Do you still work in theater, or do you have a day job that you have to go to?
I definitely have a day job, but and I work at a credit union,
okay.
Local credit union, and frankly, one of the reasons that I like working there is that it affords me the time to do this sort of thing.
Most people that work on all of these community theater shows have regular jobs, and then they have to rehearse at night, and that's a real tribute to what you guys do, I think. So let's talk about Harvey here.
Absolutely.
What can you tell? Oh,
excuse me.
Harvey had something to say. I don't know.
He
if
heard his name, so he just snapped to attention.
So. I don't know if that was appropriate for television, but we'll let him go on here in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell us, or tell the audience about the show that they might like to know, or?
I would say that it's the first thing that you want to know about this show is that it's absolutely a classic. It was done, as you said, back when you say it was back in the 30s, 40s.
It was 1944 when
44,
the show
right? And they made a movie out of it with very famously presented by Jimmy Stewart as the main character. It is a story about a man who is, I would say, the nicest guy in the world, but he is. His sanity is doubted by his own family, and the message of the show, I suppose the message of the show is: does it matter if you are the most sincere person that you like, the most sincere, the most warm, loving, giving, nice guy in the world, and everyone else says, oh no, that makes you crazy. But the question then comes, who's crazy, right?
Okay.
So the whole thing of him they try to put him, the main character, the story is of Elwood Dowd, who has his best friend in the world, happens to be a 6-foot white rabbit named Harvey that no one else can see. That's right. Right? And I know you can see him now, but in the show, you can't actually see him. And that's the thing. So he's going around and introducing Harvey to everyone that he meets because Harvey is his best friend. And that's all he wants to do is to say, hey, I want you to meet my best friend. He's my friend, he'll be your friend.
And that causes some sort of fun moments throughout the show
absolutely.
where he's desperately sort of trying to introduce and no one will actually listen to him when
and of course the show turns into a bit of a farce in that way. Yes. That he's constantly like, well, let me introduce you, and they say, no, excuse me, let me get my point out first. Yes. And it never quite comes to fruition, and so everyone thinks, oh no, that's just the nicest guy in the world, whereas his family, they say, you don't understand, he's crazy, you know.
One of the things we want to let you know is also that the show's very much a comedy.
Oh yes, yes. This is not this is not Girl Interrupted in a sanitarium. No, very much a lighthearted play about a guy and his rabbit.
Who are some of the other characters involved in the show?
Well, of course, as I mentioned, Elwood is sort of the character that everything revolves around. But I would say a very large character in the show is his sister, Vida Louise Simmons.
Vida.
That's right, Vida Louise Simmons, who is sort of an up-and-coming socialite. And of course, when you invite all your friends to kind of have a party over your house and he's introducing the big rabbit to people, they maybe have some second
awkward.
It's awkward. Have some second thoughts about you and your family. There is Vida's daughter, Myrtle May Simmons, who is really sort of one of the motivations for the whole thing is that Vida wants to get her daughter into a good marriage. So she's trying to sort of old school arrange a marriage with her rich friends' sons.
Of course,
and such like that.
Then when you have a 6.5 or 6
That's right.
foot 3.5,
you got to know whose family you're marrying into. Yes. Is really the thing. 6'1.5", I believe is let's be factual.
Yes, I believe. Yeah, you're quoting right out of the show there. That's great.
I have some experience reading the script.
What can you tell us about? They go to a sanitarium,
yes,
and that's sort of a main plot line of the show. That there's sort of a mistaken.
One of the big plot points, and of course I don't want to spoil the thing, but one of the main plot points of the show is that his sister kind of takes a taxi and takes him out there and says, you're going to be going out here. And of course Elwood, being the nicest guy in the world, is like, oh, this sounds great. Let's go out and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. So they go out there. He's waiting in the taxi while she's describing to the doctor what's happening. And the doctor, while talking to her, says, I think that you're crazy. And so there is very much a mistaken identity where they think, oh, this lady is actually crazy. She's trying to discredit her brother. He's really the sane one.
And that's sort of where the show kind of jumps off there.
You might say that's entering into the 3-act structure. That's the conflict.
Okay. What's been the most enjoyable part about enjoying or directing the show?
So far, I would, other than everything, of course. Honestly, I love to see my cast enter into a character and really kind of put a bit of themselves into it, because before when you're arranging to do a show and you're putting all your things, you're writing down your ideas and all this stuff, all you have is your own head and your own ideas, and then you get a dozen talented people who all have their own ideas entering into the thing, and you get this wonderful sort of stew of a show, right? You get everyone's putting in their own, right? It starts to grow and it starts to evolve, right? Because my job as a director is to guide them. It's not to stifle them into like this box that I've created. It is to give them a direction and have them go on that journey. And I know that sounds a little highfalutin, but it's true. I mean, and it's just a joy to watch them start at one place and really kind of figure out what they're going to do with it.
Now, has Harvey been difficult to work with, or?
I don't want to talk about that. Actually, he's a little bit stage fright. You do. Excuse me. He has a little bit of a conflict in there, but he has a little bit of stage fright. He likes to stick to the back, you know. But overall, you know what? He's been pretty good.
Does he stick to the blocking that you've given him, or
not always?
Oh well, you know that's what you get with some performers sometimes.
I think they call it a diva. Is what I've heard.
Oh yeah, of course. Let's talk about some of the crew, and you know, I said this before that everybody volunteers to work on these shows, and that's really, you know, admirable that they take this time out. Let's talk about some of your tech crew. Who's your? You've got an assistant director.
My assistant director is Janet Manikis.
Janet Manikis,
who actually was, like I said, when I assistant directed her for 1776. So now we kind of switched roles.
I know you've got some of the familiar tech guys up in the booth, Brian Borstead and Bob Veach, running lights and sound respectively. The set, can you tell us anything about the set that we might see? Well,
the set, actually, I like to, it's a little bit interesting because we're sort of, the play takes place in two locations. One is in Elwood's house, in the Dowd house, and then the second location, of course, is the sanitarium.
Okay.
The house is going to be what we call a minimalist set, so there's not going to be any walls. There's going to be furniture, there's going to be curtains. You're going to see the picture of Elwood's mom in the background over a fireplace.
Are you going to have, I know I've seen this before, there's often a picture of the Elwood character and the rabbit is,
absolutely. No, that does make an appearance, absolutely. Later, it's a bit later on, and much to, and I actually have seen, we actually got, we have an Alpha alumni, I guess at this point. The gentleman who played Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. Actually, the most recent for Alpha players actually did the painting of Elwood and Harvey for this show. So he's putting the finishing touches on it as we speak.
That's great.
I saw a picture of it. It looks just great.
I didn't intend on bringing that up, but that's a great little thing to look forward to seeing. Costumes.
Costumes are going to be sort of traditional, I would say sort of 1940s wear, three-piece suits, fedoras. We even get to see Harvey's costume at one point. He's got his coat and his hat. Of course, with the hat, you got to put the holes in the hat to get the ears through because it gets a little cramped in there.
And one of the most important people involved in the show, and a lot of people don't realize this, and I know this from firsthand experience, is the stage manager. And once the show starts, the stage manager really takes over the show after the director's job is done. Who is your stage manager, your right hand?
My right hand, absolutely, and just to echo, once the actors are on the stage, my job is pretty much done, and then they're running the show. So
you get to sit in the back of the house and cringe.
That's right. That's right. At that point, I go, if you don't like the show, it's their fault.
Yes.
I kid. No, actually, it's a very good friend of mine, Zachary Murphy, is going to be my stage manager, and then we have an assistant stage manager, Laura Cracked, who's been also doing Alpha shows for quite some time as well.
They've both been involved with Alpha Productions before. Okay. How large of a cast is the show?
I want to say I think there's 11 people in the cast.
Okay.
And there are, I would say if you're asking about if they're familiar people, there's a couple of Alpha alumni, but really we have a lot of good people from sort of St. Louis theater in general. You might have seen him. Our lead who plays Elwood P. Dowd is Preston Murkison. And he is very active in Kirkwood Theater. It's actually where I met him for the first time several years ago, is in Kirkwood. We also have Mr. Ray Shea, the man himself, who's done a lot of theater forever.
And that's a very familiar name to me there.
I say if you watch St. Louis Community Theater, you've probably seen him, even if you don't realize it.
What else should we know going into this, or anything else you would like to talk about? You know, Alpha Players shows that are coming up, or Harvey itself?
Well, I could talk Harvey for hours, but I will say that we did actually, Alpha Players did just announce their coming up season. Harvey actually closes out their season.
Closes out this current season, yes.
So their next season, which they recently announced, is going to be starting, of course, in a few months. I think October is when they're going to do it. So they have 3 shows announced at this time, which is Into the Woods, one of my favorite.
That's a wonderful musical.
One of my favorite musicals. And then their second show is going to be classic The Odd Couple.
The Odd Couple. Okay.
And then sort of as a curveball, they're actually doing another musical for their third show, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
That's right.
That was the very first show I ever worked on in middle school.
Wow.
In middle school.
You know what? That was actually one of my first shows that I ever did was a Charlie Brown show. It was like a half-hour kids version of it.
Yeah, it's one that they start a lot of people out on because it's they can use.
I still remember I played Schroeder. I was on a little toy piano.
Yes. Well, that's a very good season actually lined up for them.
I'm excited.
I'm excited about it.
Be involved. Yeah.
Well, what we should mention is that Harvey opens on May 19th and has performances May 19th, 20th, the 26th, and the 27th, all starting at 7:30 p.m. and then closes on a Sunday matinee at 2 p.m. May the 28th. Admission is $18 for adults and $16 for seniors and students, and $10 for children 12 and under. For ticket info and anything you want to know about any of our shows going on, call 314-921-5678 or visit us online at www.florissantmo.com. And also, if you want more information on the Alpha Productions, you can check out the Alpha Players at www.alphaplayers.org. Before we conclude the show, I want to say thank you to Danny. Thanks for coming out today. We really appreciate it. Harvey, we really also appreciate you being here and for chiming in when you did. I've said this many times here today that a lot of people work very hard on these shows. And if you ever want to get involved in community theater, don't hesitate. I guarantee you it's going to be a rewarding experience. The cast and crew of these shows are all volunteers. They take time off of their lives, away from their families and jobs, hopefully not too much time from each of those. But they go to work during the day and they rehearse these shows at night in order to bring professional level theater to your community right here in Florissant. And I want to encourage you to come out and support the arts here in our community. And I also want to say that I think everybody should stand up for those who would take the arts away from our community and cut funding for the arts. It's really important that we keep these things going. Thank you for watching. My name's Sean Robertson. Now stay tuned for our calendar of events. Thank you for staying tuned to On Cue. Coming up in May, the Alpha Players will present Harvey, May 19th and 20th, May 26th and 27th at 7:30 p.m., and May 28th at 2 p.m. A classic comedy for the whole family to enjoy, Elwood P. Dowd is a polite and friendly man with a very strange best friend, a 6.5-foot tall rabbit named Harvey. Elwood's sister, Veda, is concerned that Elwood's behavior will hamper her social life, so she decides to have Elwood committed to a nearby sanatorium. However, when she becomes hysterical while trying to explain her brother's condition to the sanatorium staff, she ends up being committed instead. Elwood leaves the sanatorium grounds unbothered, turning the town upside down as everyone goes on the lookout for the mild-mannered hero and his invisible rabbit. This Pulitzer Prize script is one of the most beloved in American theater. Admission is $18 for adults, $16 for seniors and students, and $10 for children 12 and under. Coming up in June, we take a little bit of time off and we spend most of our month catering to the dance schools of the area, and we have an entire month dedicated to all the dance recitals for all those schools. But also in June, the Alpha Players will hold musical auditions for Into the Woods, June 18th, and we'll have callbacks on June 19th. For more information, visit www.alphaplayers.org. In July, Missouri Pageant Alumni Club presents Miss Missouri Senior America Pageant, July 9th at 2 p.m. The lovely ladies will compete for the title of Miss Missouri Senior America. The 4 areas of competition are a personal interview before the pageant, a talent presentation on stage, poise in an evening gown, and a philosophy of life statement. Admission is $15 in advance and $12 for groups of 10 or more, and $17 at the door. Later on in July, Hawthorne Players will present the musical Once Upon a Mattress, based on The Princess and the Pea, July 28th at 7:30 p.m., July 29th at 7:30 p.m., August 4th and 5th at 7:30 p.m., and closing on August 6th with the matinee at 2 o'clock p.m. Due to an unhappy curse, the king is unable to speak. Meanwhile, his terror of a wife, the queen, has taken over control of the kingdom. In an attempt to keep the prince single, she has decreed that only the princess that can pass her test may marry her son. Admission is $20 for adults and $18 for seniors and students. And of course, coming up in July, we will continue with our Music Under the Stars series, beginning on July 4th at the James J. Egan Center, followed by fireworks, beginning with the North Winds Concert Band on July 4th. Then we'll move our concert series out to the St. Ferdinand Park on Saturday, July 15th, beginning with Rockin' Chair. On July 22nd will be the SSJ Band. On July 29th, Butchwax and the Hollywoods with Theo Peoples from the Four Tops. August 5th, Smash Band Super Hits with Smash live on stage. August 12th, Billy Peak Band. August 19th, Fanfare Band featuring Kitty Moeller. And Saturday, August 26th, the Boeing Employees Concert Band. All of those concerts will begin at 7 p.m. at St. Ferdinand Park, except for the North Winds Concert Band at James J. Egan Center beginning at 7:30 p.m. And we will conclude the Music Under the Stars Sunday, October 8th with Bob Cuban Brass at the Fall Festival here in Florissant. For tickets and box office, you can reach us 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday at area code 314-921-5678, or you can visit us online at www.florissantmo.com. Individual tickets go on sale 45 days prior to any production, and you can always give us a call and we'll try to get you in some seats. Well, that about wraps up our show. Thank you for watching. My name's Sean Robertson, and have a nice day.